Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city.
Walking up and down these streets, you don't want to think about the stuff that you're gonna have to do. Somebody pops around the corner.
Be shooter in America.
Yeah.
So that was a National Guardsman in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina saying just what he might have to do on the streets there in New Orleans, fire upon an American citizen. Now, joining us now in studio is returning veteran, a domestic terrorist, in fact, Joe Biggs.
Watch out, I'm your #1 threat.
Exactly. Now, I want to kind of push back against this new PSYOP that's being pushed out there. This is also in the initial Vice article that's attacking us conspiracy theorists. Now, this is Paul Floyd. He's a former Army Ranger and senior military analyst at Stratfor. Now, he's calling the theory ludicrous, and he tells Vice News that U.S. soldiers would likely be unwilling to ever institute martial law on their fellow citizens. He says, every person I worked for in the military took an oath to defend the Constitution, so without any pretext or serious reason to do so, imposing martial law in places where soldiers are from would absolutely generate blowback. So this is something that they're really kind of pushing out there now, is that, oh, well, we took this oath to uphold the Constitution, so they would never fire upon American
Didn't the president do
citizens.
that? How's that been working out?
Yeah, exactly. So this is what they're kind of putting out there to quell the concern with that the military is training.
I mean, we've been saying this for a long time, though. We're not saying that, we're not putting this on the backs of the soldiers. We know that these low privates, they're not the ones who are going to go out and do it. The big thing is the distinction between a training exercise and something really happening. That's part of the whole overall PSYOP, is it's going to confuse the hell out of people at the end of the day. You know, you start seeing helicopters flying around every day, and all of a sudden you start hearing guns going off. Is it a training exercise? Is it not? Your wall comes knocking down. MRAP comes driving in. How do you know when it's a training exercise, and how do you not know? That is a PSYOP. Right. I'm not saying that soldiers are going to do that. I don't believe that at all, because all my friends I talk to on a daily basis, they back what we're doing here. A lot of them are going to be getting out soon because they think that what's going on is extremely corrupt. I've got a buddy in SOCOM who contacted me the other day who says, I can't wait to I got another year to go, and I'm going to get away from this as much as possible.
I think that's a problem, though. We need good people in the Army. We don't need, which is sad that they're being pushed out, because, and with the purge going on, with all the generals and admirals being, let go by Obama. I mean, you've got the guys that aren't following orders that are questioning things. And you told me yourself, you told me today that they tried to push you into an area it just mentally of, you don't ask questions, you just do what you're told.
Oh yeah, when I was a young private, I've always been someone who questions things. When someone tells me something, I like to find out a little bit more info about it so I can make a good sound decision on the thing. Right. In the Army, when you do that, you're looked down upon. Right. You're frowned upon. They don't want people who think, people who make good, smart decisions. And this is in conventional Army, regular, Joe Schmo doing PT every morning with his little belt on. They want people who are just going to shut up, not think for themselves, and follow orders.
Right, and we see that as well with local law enforcement, hiring people that have a specific IQ and not going above it because they're more likely to take orders. And this is, of course, the danger of having a standing army, because a standing army could be used to follow the orders of whoever's in control.
Well, high-ranking NCOs in the military, officers, use psychological operations against soldiers. Mm-hmm. I know this. Right. I've got buddies who've gone on training missions, coming back after a week or whatever, and like, man, all they did was tell us how to basically screw with privates' heads, so they would have essentially just follow the orders we give them, regardless of what it was. And then they do stupid little things to mess with kids. They make them go out and look for these invisible items that never exist, or have them go take exhaust samples. Just because it's funny, they get off on it. It's a PSYOP. Like, oh yeah, go get an exhaust sample. That'll be so hilarious. And the kid is just following orders. He goes and he's holding a plastic bag to an exhaust on a huge truck, not knowing what's going on. That's what they do. They're screwing with the guy. So when it happens, how do they know when it's happening? Like we said, in Katrina, they send these guys out here, 82nd Airborne, out there, walking around with live ammunition, taking guns. How do we know, as American citizens, that that's not going to happen again? Right. That's all we're doing, is questioning what we've seen in the past and what could happen in the future, because there's a lot of civil unrest going on. Ferguson, all these little riots that are picking up all over the place. People are pissed off. People are starting to wake up, and that's what's scaring the government. We're not promoting violence. We're not saying anything at all. All we're saying is look behind the narrative they're giving to you, because sometimes it's a little bit more than what you see.
Right.
We're saying, you know, why does Homeland Security have targets that look like citizens, like ladies, old ladies, pregnant women with a gun, little kids?
Right.
I mean, those are the kinds of questions we should be asking as a culture, not whether Texas and Utah are bad states, or if the feds are and with the Army are doing these exercises, then we should be worried about them. But back in 2009, I was in the G20 in Pittsburgh. We actually went to the Air National Guard base there to say, hey, you guys say you're having some National Guard. How many are going to be out running security for the G20? And we were totally shut down. We were told to leave. We left. Then they went and contacted the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department, who contacted the rental car company and got our phone numbers through that, started calling us up saying, hey, you guys need to come out and meet us. We need to change out your car. They were disguising themselves as the rental car company to get us to go out there. And then when we didn't fall for it, we're like, well, the city's shut down. We can't leave. They said, oh, well, we're actually the Sheriff's Department. We think you guys might be terrorists. For going up there, driving up with credentials saying, hey, we just want to ask a couple questions. That's it. That's how they treat anybody who, that's why they're going after you guys. Because anybody who asks a question must be stomped down, must be told they're bad, must be, you know, just vilified in front of everybody now. Like, this is nationwide now, this vilification that's going on. And it's all because, you know, I sent you that document. You looked at it and you go, this is bad.
See, but the funny thing is, though, is they go, these operators will be conducting suspicious activity. Now, when me and Josh go on all these, you know, little adventures, we go out and report at places, who are the first people that mess with us? We're out investigating. The cops come up, harass us, stop us, detain us for what they say, suspicious activity. We're doing the same thing. Why are we in the wrong for seeing something that looks very suspicious and questioning it?
Right.
Yeah.
See
And
something,
they're attacking us on all fronts because we're over the target.
Yeah.
When you're over the target, they fire at you, and they're firing with all cylinders. They're coming at us with everything they got because they know we're exposing what's going on. And what we need to have is every American right now, if you know these operations, where they're going to be, you need to call those counties. You need to call them and say, hey, you don't need to allow this. You don't have to accept this invitation for this Jade Helm 1-5 exercise. Because I'm going to tell you right now, from being in the military, we have a ton of operational facilities where training can be conducted on military soil. That's where it should be done.
And you guys went
property.
to AP Hill, where it was set up as an American town with American signage, all in English.
Yeah, there's churches.
So they can prepare to come after us through this instead of
it looks like
instead of working with the local authorities.
Yeah, like I said, you train how you fight. You're going to train in an area that's going to be similar to your theater of operation. And when we go to these training facilities in North Carolina and Virginia, and we look, and the area that they're training for is a church.
Yeah.
A soccer field, an underground subway, fire station, all these different places, that has to start setting off alarms in your head. You don't have to be that awake to understand what's being trained for. Now, they can try to bash us all they want. I'm not going to take that. It's a psyop. I talked to a buddy at SOCOM down in Florida, clearly stating that it is a psychological operation going on. It's going to be used to condition American citizens to be used to this, to desensitize them to all this crap going on.
And if you question it, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Right.
no problem with questioning stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think also, too, to acclimate our military to train to operate in the area where they're going to conduct these.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
that's the whole thing, is to help.
Getting in their mind that, oh, I'm not fighting in Iraq.
I'm going on a wellness check.
Yeah.
I'm going on a wellness check. I'm not gun confiscation. I'm just making sure everybody's okay.
But you got to be, the thing is, though, is when you ask a soldier straight up, hey, would you ever take part in something like that? Would you ever take part in a martial law operation? They're all going to look at you and go, no. But what's going to happen is a psyop that's worked by these high-ranking people in the military when they tell the troops, oh, no, we're just going to go do a training exercise. We're going to go do that. It's a wellness check. We're going to go do this and that. These guys don't know. And then all of a sudden the orders come down. Oh, well, this is part of the training. These guys already know. They're part of an Op4, which is an operation. It's basically a bunch of guys who are pretending to be bad guys. So they're going to be like, oh, these guys are Op4. It's okay. You can go ahead and detain them, put zip ties on their arms, throw them to the ground. It's okay. It's part of the training. Meanwhile, this person's like,
they're role players. They're going to act like they don't want it. you got to make sure they're going to be really acting really well.
make it believable.
Because they've done exercises like this where they go,
but
I'm an
what-
American, don't put me in the camp.
But what happens when it's a real home where there's a family not knowing this is going to happen?
Right.
And the higher ups are telling the soldiers, hey, no, it's just a training exercise. These guys are really good actors. They're screaming and kicking. That's part of the whole thing. These guys are actors.
Exactly.
They know what's going on. And next thing you know, it's something real. It's not a training exercise. We're not saying that that's what's happening. We're saying that it's very possible based off of things we've seen in the past, because history tends to repeat itself.
Yep. And 9/11, actually, if you go back and listen to the air traffic control tapes, when it first starts happening, they're reporting that there's hijacked planes. Somebody comes on and goes, is this part of the drill? They go,
Right.
no, this is not a drill. They were running a drill that day
Right.
of planes being hijacked and flown into buildings.
Coincidence?
Wasn't that Dick
There
Cheney
you
in
go.
charge of that, NORAD?
Oh,
That's
we'll
the
never
thing.
know.
Yeah.
We'll never know who was really in
That's
charge.
the thing.
But-
That's crying wolf.
Exactly.
Right.
And you do it enough, you get people conditioned.
Yes, people get confused. They don't know how to react. And then lives can be lost. People will get hurt because someone's going to go, oh, these guys are just playing around. It's just a training exercise. Meanwhile,
Right.
people are being hurt.
Right, and then this is a statement about dangers of a standing army. When the president issues an order, the soldier isn't going to reflect on whether or not that's a constitutional order. The soldier's job is simply to obey the president, carry out his orders.
Yes, that's what you're
His
conditioned to do. That's what you're taught.
commander-in-chief is the boss, not the Constitution. You follow the orders. So,
And they're getting them younger and younger. I mean, they're
Right.
training the scouts to go after terrorists and vets with guns. I mean, this is
in the
this is
state of
on all
Washington,
levels.
in the state of Washington, if you call 911, the operator will answer the phone and ask a question whether or not you are a veteran. Now, why is that something that needs to be known? Because they're going to come and react to that situation differently because, quote unquote, we're all trained killers and we know how to build bombs and stuff, which is not even true. 90% of the people in the military won't even see combat, much less ever touch explosives or anything like that. So that's just the biggest propaganda.
If they're in Spokane, they're going to come with a giant MRAP.
Yeah, I mean, this is out of control. This 1033 program, MRAP's showing up. Tankbulance in California next year going to be arriving. And it's going to be okay. It's safe because there's a Red Cross on the side. Don't worry about it. I mean, they're going to come
Right.
bust down the wall. And the next thing you know, okay, we can render you first aid too as well.
but let's talk about some of the other things that are going on. I mean, just to show you that there is a lot of stuff happening, and our attention is being diverted to Starbucks' race campaign and Hillary Clinton's private email server, and is it okay? Is it not okay? And meanwhile, we've got the U.S. sending off a missile off the coast of California, just kind of as a show of force to the world that, hey, at any moment now, we could send off a nuke. This is actually from an Air Force statement. It says, with these launches, we not only verify our processes and the intercontinental ballistic missile weapon system, we provide a visual to the world that the Minuteman III is capable of striking pretty much anywhere with extreme precision. So they are launching this off the coast of California, basically as China is announcing their new infrastructure bank, that it's going to go away from the dollar. We've got Russia. Someone came out in the mainstream media saying that we needed to put more Russians in body bags so Putin would get the message.
And then
So
Russia's
obviously
doing massive war
provoking-
exercises too. They're
Exactly.
flying without their transponders. So it's on both sides. There's provocation going on, and it just needs to stop. And we need cooler heads to prevail. And we don't need to be going after Americans saying they're the
Right.
enemy.
I know the mainstream media, everyone's pushing how ISIS is this #1 threat. So why don't you worry about training to fight ISIS? Even though you created ISIS and you've created a problem so big that it's gotten out of control, and now we have to put more American lives in harm's way. And today they're announcing that they're going to leave 9,800 troops in Afghanistan instead of pulling them out like President Obama promised he would be doing.
Right,
Once
and that's
again,
another huge psyop for the military. Just announced this weekend, New York Post reported that ISIS released a hit list of 100 American military personnel. And they posted online a target list with the names and addresses of 100 U.S. military personnel, and they're calling on their brothers residing in America to kill them. And this is according to Pentagon officials. So now the Pentagon is pushing this out there. They've since taken that down online, but that's just putting it in the military's head. Okay, now we're going to have to be fighting these splinter cells, ISIS cells here in America. Meanwhile, there are known terror cells that they're not shutting down.
Yeah, in York, South Carolina, Islamville. That's one of the first stories I brought to here when I first got hired here, because I used to live right down the street from that place. And it's been well known.
Right.
And people know about it in the government, and nothing is done about it.
Right.
And we're allowing these things to happen. It's almost like they're strategically placing these people in there. Now they're like shoving in your face. Oh my God, ISIS is in your backyard. ISIS is here.
Exactly.
ISIS is here. We've got to do these military
Oh my God, they're
trainings.
attacking.
They're ballistic missiles. Oh, because of Russia and Putin and China. Oh my goodness.
That is fear mongering to the T.
Right. But we're the conspiracy theorists. Meanwhile, Wisconsin cops are forcibly taking DNA for any misdemeanors. They're building this huge database, taking DNA samples. They're going to increase to about 12,000 samples a year taken from, quote, felons. So this is just for simple misdemeanors, basically building up this huge national biometric database. We're seeing this all over the country. In addition to that, now we are reporting that banks are being told by the the Justice Department that they have to report anyone who comes to the bank and takes out more than $5,000 cash of your own money. So, so we know monetary controls have always been huge for the globalists, a way to track and control you. Right.
And now it's with the dollar declining in value. Now it's $5,000, which is really about $3,000. You know, compared to what it used to be. And it's criminalizing cash, essentially. It's going to make people afraid. Oh, I'm just not going to use cash. I'll just stick with credit.
That way they can follow you.
Exactly. They can track all your movements all the time.
See, that's what people should be mad about. That Army Times should be writing about that.
Yeah.
How people who go and fight for the country have to come back home to a place where their government, in return, treats them like a terrorist, pats them down, gropes them at the airport, lets illegals fly all over the country, like harasses them,
but they give them
spies
free
on them, gives them free health care. I can't get health care at the VA.
Right. And
you're going to give it to this guy, someone who hasn't fought for this country. That's a complete and total joke. Yeah, we're pissed off as vets because you're not doing your job. That stuff is just out of control.
And this is basically all we're trying to do. And once again, like you said, we're over the target. And that's why we are being lambasted by the dinosaur mainstream media once again. But that's what we just wanted to put all of this information out there so you can learn for yourself.
Incidentally, with that DNA comment, anybody who's ever been arrested in any of these protests, your fingerprints, handprints are taken. I was scanned by this electronic scanner that I had to put my hands on and hold there, and zzz, you watch it go up and down.
Wow.
And it's stored somewhere in some FBI database. I tried to get it removed when I was able to get the charges taken away from me. But that stuff, that lives there forever.
Yeah.
And they could do whatever they want with it now. It's just disgusting.
You're a racist.
Yeah, I know, because I talk about it, I'm a racist. Yeah. But it's just, just by going out there and trying to do, my job as a camera guy, I had to give up my rights of privacy to the federal government, who now can track me wherever I want.
Yeah, I mean, just to get a driver's license in Texas, you got to give all your fingerprints and,
So they're getting you any way they can.
Now you got to give your thumbprint.
We're crazy to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
From the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape, but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new Infowars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfowarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
You are watching the Infowars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfowarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.